In these final chapters, I propose to offer a different interpretation of two famous UFO crash and recovery cases, quote unquote, than is the standard in the ufological community as a speculative corroboration of the thesis that somewhere, someone, was continuing the line of very secret black projects the Nazis had initiated. The two famous cases are the 1947 Roswell crash and the 1965 Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania crash. These speculative reinterpretations of these two events are impelled, in part, by the momentum of the evidence thus far presented, and in part by the two remarkable statements made by Colonel Philip J. Corso in his well-known book, The Day After Roswell. That's from Chapter 16 of Joseph Farrell's Reich of the Black Sun, Nazi Secret Weapons and the Cold War Allied Legend. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. I would like to talk about two incidents and to tell you, to make a statement about how the media is manipulated and how events change over a period of time. The first one was a shooting here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the Western Pennsylvania Psychiatric Hospital, in which a man killed one person, injured several others in a shooting inside the actual lobby of the place itself. Initial reports indicated that there were two gunmen. And later, of course, this was changed to the singular lone gunman, the lone crazy person, armed with two weapons. And apparently this individual was also killed in the ensuing shooting as it happened. So conveniently dead as well. So a story that I need to look into further. But it's very interesting to note that in this instance we had the initial report said that there were two gunmen. And instead what we have is one that is the final product of the media machine. And the other incident, of course, is the one in Afghanistan where a singular lone nut soldier killed 16 Afghani civilians, including children. Now, initial witnesses and initial reports said that more than one soldier was involved in the shooting. But the U.S. is insisting that it was one. Now, I ask you, we already have a situation of deteriorating relationships where Afghanistan is trying to ally itself with China and being friendly towards Iran, even as we are building up in war towards Iran. Why are we there? We should have never been there to begin with. There's no reason to stay. And keeping people there, especially people in the military who are unstable because of being deployed for tour after tour after tour, and being subjected to the same kind of violence and degradation that goes along with any kind of warfare. And the manipulation that goes on with these people that put them into a mindset that can cause this to happen. There is no reason to remain in that country, and continuing to do so is only going to further these kinds of activities. And it would not surprise me that the entire troop of people in the patrol that descended on that area were involved in some capacity in this slaughter. And it is a slaughter. It's a massacre. It's outright murder. And there are a lot of psychological things that you could come up with to explain why and how a mentality can happen, whereas it explains the actions of the individuals who took them. But in the end, you cannot ever excuse this type of behavior. And it doesn't matter if it's war. It doesn't matter. We're talking about innocent lives lost. The end result of this is that if you don't have the soldiers in that place, they can't snap and kill people. And that's the bottom line. And as much as anybody wants to tell you that the war in Iraq is over, it's not. And that Afghanistan is winding down, it's not. And these people are going to continue being in these positions, and these type of actions are going to continue to take place. This is the nature of this beast. Now, I did note that there was a congressman, I can't remember his name right now, who proposed a resolution in Congress that would warn President Obama against taking any military action against anybody without the express consent of Congress. Whereas he seemed to believe that simply having other nations support his unilateral choice to go into Libya, that was perfectly acceptable. Well, of course it's not. It's completely unconstitutional. But, as we all know, as anybody who listens to this video series knows, the Constitution is worthless. This resolution would warn President Obama that he would face impeachment if he were to engage in unilateral action at the executive level without getting express permission from Congress. And I also would note that the anti-war supposed candidate, Ron Paul, has yet to express any opinion on this issue. And if there was anybody within this country who supposedly stands for anti-war and has a national spotlight, it would be him. And if he really was anti-war, he would be championing this resolution, and he would be touting it everywhere he went as a way to stop imperialist aggression on the part of the executive in this country, who has proved himself to be just as much a warmonger, if not more so, than the previous president. And all of the supposed foreign policy actions undertaken by Obama are either fictional, that is, the supposed death of Osama bin Laden, or mythical in the sense that they are completely made-up stories of drawdowns and ending of hostilities, when in fact, like in Iraq, we have tens of thousands of people. And just because they're not wearing a uniform does not mean that they are not armed and not capable of engaging in murder and killing. And the supposed drawdown in Afghanistan is not going to happen anytime soon because of the heightened tensions that continue to escalate. And with all of these other things on the back burner, with Syria and with Iran, I would expect that the supposed anti-war candidate would be jumping on this and making it a major talking point anytime he gave any interviews to the press. And yet he is silent. And I might remind you, yet again, that if you are going to vote for somebody in a system that is completely corrupt, and I have noted that there are people that still support Ron Paul despite all of the things that have been exposed about him, and now these people are crying that the vote is fixed. Oh my goodness, the vote is fixed. Oh, they're rigging the election. Oh, this hasn't been going on for 50 years? Oh, well, maybe somebody should tell Ron Paul about this, because apparently he doesn't know, because I don't see him contesting any races. And it's the same thing that happened in 2008 in New Hampshire, where there was allegations of vote fraud and vote rigging. And Ron Paul was conspicuously silent, just like he is now. This just goes to further prove that Ron Paul's candidacy is not a candidacy for president. He is simply a flanking maneuver for Mitt Romney. And they are allied as an attempt to help Romney get the requisite number of delegates to make him the candidate. And sadly for Paul, because his performance has been so dismal, it doesn't appear he's holding up his end of the bargain very well. And he may see the super-pac money go away. And, gosh, I gotta ask, who do you think the Liberty super-pac is going to be putting their money into if they decide to dump Ron Paul because of his dismal performance? Could it be Mitt Romney? I guess we'll have to wait to see. Just another tragic day. Thank you. Good night.